All right, now we're looking at a problem where we're asked to evaluate using our calculator the total area under a curve. And the problem they gave us is x cosine 2x. So we're going to just graph that guy and make sure that when you graph this guy that you are in radian mode on your calculator. If you're not in radian mode, you could get some really wacky graph and your numbers won't quite sync up correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and use TI Nspire. If you want to see how to do this on a different calculator, you can just go back and get a refresher from one of the earlier lessons. Okay, so we're going to add a graph, and on this graph we're going to have x times cosine 2x and we're going to look at this graph right here. So there he is, and he's pretty intense looking, pretty intense. Now what we want to do is we want to find the area of the region between the curve and the x-axis from -3 to 3. Well, if you'll notice on this graph, I've got area above x-axis, I got area below x-axis, and if I'm looking for total area, what happens with this is they cancel each other out. You know, so if I'm above here and below here, that would be 0, and then above here and below. So I want total area, which means that I need absolute value. So I'm just going to come back to my function. If you hit Control G, you can come back in here to your function. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in ABS, which means absolute value. And then I'm going to do a parenthesis right here and watch my graph change. Boom. Now everything's above x-axis. This now gives me the opportunity to evaluate this integral for total area, which is different than evaluating the integral to evaluate the integral. So what are we going to do? We're going to go to our menu key. We're going to choose to analyze the graph. We're going to choose the integral, and then we're going to tell it, hey, we want to start at -3 and go to +3. And you need to make sure that everything is listed on your x-axis. If the lower and upper elements are missing on your x-axis, you've got to change your graph window so that you can see all them. And what do we get for our total area? It should be positive. If it's not positive, then you've got an oops in there somewhere. Everything should be above x-axis. So in this case, I get 5.43. And there you go. Finding total area using your graphing calculator.